I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Well, here we are back in the studio after the 2013 Shooting, Hunting, and Outdoor Trade Show. Last week was just a whirlwind of activity. Hopefully we covered a bunch of booths that you guys wanted to see. I know we probably covered a bunch that we didn't cover a bunch that you did want to see. Anytime I come back from the SHOT Show, as soon as I sit down in front of my computer at home and start pulling up some of the other channels' coverage of the events, I'll see stuff that I wished I could have seen, or I'll see stuff on some of the blogs and the internet feeds that I didn't know was out there. So I apologize if we didn't cover anything that you did want to see, but that's just the nature of the SHOT Show. There are so many vendors and so many displays out there that we can't even hope to cover all of them. Even if we had a 20-man crew just weaving our way through the show, I don't think that we could get everything, even in just the precision rifle area, that you guys would want to see. And again, I apologize for it, but that's just the limit of our resources at this point. Know that we were on the floor pretty much at the start of the show each day until the end. We really only took a couple of little breaks in there. So we covered as much as we could. Now, you can go back, and as we go through this video, this is going to be kind of a recap of some of the stuff that we saw in my narrative of some of the videos that we shot while we were on the show floor. We're going to try to link back to those videos as we go through this, so you can stop, click the links, go back and watch the video, and see what the reps had to say about the products. Now, we're not going to cover these really in any particular order. I'm just going to kind of go through as what we saw as we went through the show. One of the first booths that we wanted to stop at was the Nightforce booth. They announced that they were releasing the Beast right before SHOT Show opened, so we were really anxious to get over there and see what rumors about the scope held to be true and what were just kind of fallacy. There were some pictures that came out, and everybody saw that the Beast had those cool two little levers on top, or a turret and a lever, and everybody was speculating as to what that was about. Well, as we learned, the turret is what they call their I4F technology, and it's that stands for Intelligent Four Function Turret. Now, the four function is kind of a misnomer because the turret doesn't really do four different things, but I'll tell you what it does do. First of all, you'll notice that there's that little flipper down at the bottom. Well, the actual turret itself, I'll refer to the Milradian model. The Mil model has 20 mils of elevation in one turn. That is a massive amount of elevation in one turn on the scope. Now, the way it accomplishes this is by, instead of going by 1/10 mil clicks like most scopes do, it goes 2/10 mil clicks. So you still only have that many clicks going around, but each click is 2/10 of a mil. Now, a lot of guys start thinking, well, 2/10 of a mil, that's kind of a coarse a number of clicks for a precision rifle scope, especially if you're getting into competitions where you're trying to hit little 1/4-inch dots and stuff. Well, the way they solved it is that lever down at the bottom, that will give you 1/10 of a mil up elevation when you flip that lever. Now, it's only 1/10 up, it's not down. You can't turn it the other way and go down. So let's say, for instance, you want 1.1 mils up on your elevation. Well, you would dial your turret to 1 mil, and then you flip the lever for your extra 1/10 up. Now, if you wanted, say, to go down the other way, if you wanted 9/10, then you're going to dial to 8 and click 1 up. You just have to remember that you have that 1 up. You can't go down. So you dial under and then click the lever to go up 1. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how I feel about the controls on it yet until I actually get behind it and work on it. Now, the next function on the scope is it does have the zero stop. If you dial all the way down to your zero, you'll hit a hard stop, and you can't go below that hard stop without loosening up the turret, taking the cap off, and resetting the zero. So it has that hard zero stop, similar to what was on the F1, but the design has changed just a little bit from the F1. And again, when we get that scope in for an extended review, we'll show you more details on that, but it's a nice hard stop. The next function is, they call it a brake. It's not really a turret lock, because a lock indicates that when you engage the lock that you are no longer able to move the turret. Well, this isn't the case on the Nightforce Beast. When you engage the brake, it now makes it extremely difficult to turn the turret, but you can still turn the turret. The brake is engaged by turning down a knob that's located on top of the turret. As I said, once you engage the brake, it then becomes very difficult to turn the turret. It's still totally doable. I actually kind of like this design, because if you get in a situation where you have that brake locked down and you really need to dial, or you're amped up and you grab a hold of it and you just gorilla grip it and crank that thing, you're not actually going to damage any of the internals of the turret. It's designed to give. It's a friction brake. It's not an actual lock. So that's kind of nice. One of the changes in the design from the pictures that we're going to show you to the production model is they've indicated that they're going to change the design on that brake knob just a little bit to make it easier to work with gloved hands. It was kind of hard for me to work with just with bare hands on a showroom floor, so you start throwing in ice, snow, mud, a little bit of slippery, whatever, you're going to have some difficulty engaging that brake or disengaging the brake. Now, those are the functions on the elevation turret. And the scope is offered in both a mil-radian version and a minute of angle version, so whichever one you deem fit. If you go with the minute of angle version, then the major turret will be in half minute of angle, and the fine tune on it, the minor adjustment, will be in quarter minute of angle, so keep that in mind. Now, when we switch over to the windage turret, the windage turret has an interesting lock on it. There's just a button located in the middle of the edge of the windage turret, and what that is it's a zero lock. They kind of executed this in an interesting way, and I kind of like the way they did it. If you push the button, it will disengage the turret and allow the turret to adjust the windage, either left or right. When you bring the turret back to the zero, it snaps in and the lock automatically engages. So the lock will hold the turret at the 0 point. It will not allow you to turn it either direction, but once you disengage the lock and click it past 0, now you can turn the turret without the lock engaging again. So it's kind of cumbersome to describe, but it's very easy to manipulate on the actual scope itself. This is the next design change that they talked about. They're going to tweak the design of the lock just a little bit to make it easier to manipulate when you're in the prone position and with gloved hands. So we'll see how that comes out in the final iteration of it. Now, the magnification range course is 5 to 25 power, which gives you a very broad range of magnification, and it's really well suited for competition. However, I still think 5 is a little bit high on the bottom end for a law enforcement type role. That really narrows your field of view a little bit more than a law enforcement sniper is going to want. So I think for you LE snipers, you're probably going to want to stick with the F1 and the 3 to 15 power range. That's a little bit better suited to that. The illumination is another big change for the Nightforce Beast. They are introducing their Digilume illumination system, which is just a big button located in the middle of the parallax turret. The parallax turret is still located on the left-hand side, just the way it is on most of the other Nightforce models. And to engage the illumination, you just simply push the button and it comes on. Through a variety of presses and holds, you can change the elevation between, or the illumination between 5 different illumination settings, and you can change it between red or green, so you can have either type of illumination depending upon what you want. There is a night vision compatible setting, so if for some reason you're using something like a PVS 14 behind the ocular lens of that scope, you can set the illumination so that it does not interfere with your night vision device. The illumination also has a 1-hour shut-off on it, so you don't have to worry anymore about having your illumination on in the bag or something bumping it and knocking that turret on. The illumination will shut off after 1 hour, and then when you turn it back on, it will come on at the previous brightness setting you had it at. So that's kind of a nice upgrade versus the old Nightforce illumination setting where it was really just an on or off. You had to remove the turret cap and set the illumination at the bench if you wanted to change it from what it came with at the factory. So they are improving that, very nice. The reticle options on the Beast are going to be the Tremor 2 or the H59, and those are going to come in at about a $3,900 price point. The minute angle version has the more reticle available, and then you also have the new Miller reticle for the mill version, and either the Moore or the Miller version is going to be $3,400. So those are some of the changes that you are looking at for the new Beast scope, and hopefully we will be able to get one of those in before the middle of the year, and as soon as we do, we'll of course do a review video and let you know our impression of it in the field. Our impression of it handling it in the booth is very good. It is a really nice advancement for Nightforce. I know you guys are looking at the price points and you're thinking it's creeping up into Schmidt and Bender territory, and it is, but I think it's with the advancements that they put on these scopes, they're commanding an appropriate price. Now, as far as glass clarity, I won't comment on glass clarity because we're looking at it inside a booth, inside an expo center. That's really nowhere that we can compare the glass to some of the other offerings. So we'll have to wait until we get it out into the field to see how the glass compares to some of the other scopes that we've used. Moving on, we went over to the Bushnell booth and took a look at one of the new offerings from Bushnell Elite Tactical, and that is the LMSS, or the Lightweight Modular Spotting Scope. This is a 8 to 40 power straight line spotting scope. It's not like their old scope where you had the folded light path. It's a straight line scope. It's kind of laid out a little bit more like a rifle scope or like you would see a traditional military spotting scope. And it's really, we got to take a look at this down at the Bushnell Tactical Shooters event down at Rockcastle Shooting Center a little bit earlier in last year. And it was a very, very exciting product. First of all, this is a first focal plane spotter, and it does carry a reticle in it, depending upon which version you get. It's equipped with a Horus H32 reticle. Now, the reticle is set in the lower half of the scope, so you can still use the scope as a traditional spotting scope without the reticle getting in the way. But it's there if you need it, and it is a first focal plane option, so no matter what power setting you have that scope set at, the reticle is usable. It's a very nice setup. You can order it either in the plain version, which will cost you about $16.99, or you can order it in the H32 reticle version, which will be $21.99. Now, it is expensive, but it is also extremely, extremely nice. It is built like a tank. It is one of the few scopes that I've looked through that just really, really excited me. There have been guys that have compared the glass quality of this new spotter to the Zeiss Spotter 60. I haven't compared them side to side. Unfortunately, Bushnell didn't have one out at Media Day, so I wasn't able to compare them right next to the Spotter 60, but using it in the field at Rockcastle, it worked very well, and I'm really excited to get our hands on one and get one out in the field. The rails on it, there are some guys that have commented on the rail system. Right now, we don't have a pricing on the rails. The two prices that we were quoted are without rails. The rails are in the military kit, and they haven't determined exactly how they're going to do the pricing on the rails, if you're going to be able to buy one rail or two rails or a set of rails, or how that's going to go about. But we'll let you know as soon as that comes out. The spotter is, of course, set up just to screw on a regular camera tripod, but it'll be nice when they get the rail setting lined out, so those of you guys that may use something like an Alamo 4-star tripod, you'll be able to drop this spotter right onto that and lock it in. Now, Bushnell also had their Elite Tactical XRS rifle scope. This is the 4.5 to 30 power with a 50 millimeter objective. It's a very, very nice spotting scope. This is the big brother to the HDMR and the LRS. The HDMR and the LRS have that 3 to 21 power range. The XRS bumps that up to 4.5 to 30 power and really gives you an extra reach. So those of you guys that are trying to put these on something, for instance, 338, something that you really want to reach out and touch, it gives you a little bit of extra magnification on that top end. Again, we only got to look at this scope inside the expo center, so we're not going to comment on glass clarity on it, but we will take a look at that once we get it out in the field and let you guys know what the glass quality is on there. The XRS comes with locking turrets, just like the HDMR, where you pull them up to unlock them and turn them and then push them back down to lock. It also comes with 0 stops, though. They made some changes from the HDMR to the LRS and the XRS in the way they mark the turrets and some other little details that, again, we'll cover at a later review that really show you Bushnell's paying attention and they are kicking their game up. The reticles that will be available in the XRS, as announced right now, are the G2, the Tremor 2, and the Horus H59. And we will have pricing on those as soon as we get it. One thing that we did ask Bushnell to talk about, because we get tons and tons of questions on, is their warranty. And while we were there, Bushnell reiterated that their Elite Tactical products carry a lifetime warranty against manufacturing defects and material defects. In addition to that, if you want to buy a Bushnell product, one of their Elite Tactical products, and try it out, it's covered by a 1-year guarantee that if you get it, put it on your rifle, and you don't like it, you can pull it off, call them, send it back, and you can get 100% of your money back. So they will refund your money if you don't like the scope. So those of you guys that are on the fence about trying them out, you can give them a try, see how they work on your rifle in your intended conditions, and you're really not out of any money if you don't like them at all. So I want to make sure I covered that because we get lots and lots of warranty questions and just really didn't know how to address them prior to this. One of the new interesting products that we took a look at when we were out at Media Day and actually got to do some live fire shooting was a system from Tracking Point. Now, I actually was admonished a little bit for calling it a scope system. What Tracking Point wants you to know is it is a complete rifle system, scope, ammo, everything all in one package. Now what the Tracking Point system does is it really takes a lot of the ballistic equations, in fact almost all the ballistic equations, out of long range shooting. The Tracking Point system is a digitally integrated scope that it has ballistic computers, it has everything built into the scope itself. In utilizing the system, all you do is you get on it, you find your target downrange, you place your reticle over the target, and you tap a tag button that is forward of the trigger on the system. Once you tag the target, the scope will actually laze the target, it'll record the environmental variables, it'll calculate your drop, and then it will place a reticle on your screen now. Then all you need to do to fire the weapon system is depress and hold the trigger and then place the reticle over the tagged spot on the target. As soon as the two coincide, the rifle will fire, controlled by the internal system on the scope. Now it sounds very strange, but we were able to crank off 3 shots very, very fast at 1,000 yards without really even thinking about it. Now, a lot of guys, when we posted this information on the web, made all kinds of comments about, oh, it's taking the fun out of it, it's taking all the skill out of shooting. Well, there's one factor that the Tracking Point system still does not account for, and that's wind. You still have to make the wind call and then input it into the system. Now, once you've decided what your wind is, there's a toggle button on top of the scope that allows you to input it. Once you get that inputted in, it then adjusts the reticle and all the information downrange to take that into account. Some other interesting things that the system does is it has a wireless server into it, so it can output the feed from the scope, what you're actually seeing through the scope, to an iPhone or an iPad. And the system actually comes with an iPad mini if you buy the full-blown kit. It was a very, very interesting setup. It's mainly currently geared towards hunters, long-range hunters, and the system does have some limitations, but what I see when I look at this is the first generation of the future of rifle systems. While, yeah, it's all well and good to say it's taken the fun out of shooting, if you're one of these guys that's downrange and your life's on the line and you got to eliminate bad guys that are trying to hurt your guys, then fun really doesn't factor into it. It's a matter of how to do it as efficiently, quickly as possible, and that's really all there is. So a system that will allow you to do it quickly and efficiently is just bonus points in my book. Now, obviously, competitions will still limit the equipment that you're able to use. So if you think you're going to buy one of these and roll into a tactical rifle competition, I would save your money, because many of them will outlaw laser rangefinders, and this one has an integrated laser rangefinder into it. So that's going to take that whole package out of the equation. But it's very interesting to look at. Currently, it is only available as a complete package. The one that we were shooting was a .338 Leupold Magnum built on a Surgeon rifle system and an Accuracy International chassis with the tracking point system on top. For everything to work together, you have to utilize their ammo, which is set up in the scope already to their whole system. So it is a total package. You just purchase it, open the case, pull it out, load it up, and off you go. We will, of course, leave links to Tracking Point down below so you can go over and check them out and see what their prices are listed. They have several different tiers of pricing depending upon what kind of range that you want out of the system. We rolled over to Leupold's booth and took a look at their new Mark 8 scope. This is the 3.5 to 25 power by 56 millimeter. First off, let me say that is an excellent power range. I was really excited to see that, because 3.5 on the bottom end is about where I like a law enforcement sniper scope to be. I like, if for 100 yard and in engagements, 3.5 is a great power setting. The top end you have 25 power, which really allows you to identify those targets that are a little bit further out. 56 millimeter is starting to get on the big side on the objective, but with that top end 25 power magnification, you need a little bit larger objective to still allow good light transmission. Now, it does have a 35 millimeter main tube, so it gives you plenty of travel. It's a pretty beefy main tube, so you're starting to limit your mounting and ring selection, but they've got you covered with branded mounts as well. It is a first focal plane scope, and they do have locking turrets, and these are the same pinch to turn turrets that were on the Mark 6 that we just got done using, and they originally look kind of fiddly, but really they're fast and easy to use. I don't like them quite as much as I do turrets that you can unlock. For instance, the Bushnell turrets, where when you pull them up you can leave them unlocked if you know you're going to need to dial fast. But they really don't cause any kind of problem. And the turrets on the Mark 8 are really the Mark 8 and the Mark 6 are really the quickest turrets I've ever seen to zero. You just simply pop two little notches in, spin the turret and lock it back down, and your turret is re-zeroed. So very fast and easy to use. The Mark 8 is illuminated, which was one of my complaints about the Mark 6. The Mark 6 does not offer an illuminated reticle. The reticle options on the Mark 8 are the H58, the Tremor 2, a mil dot, and in the future a TMR reticle. Now, the price point on the Mark 8 is $3,300 for the mil dot and the TMR, and just under $4,000 for the Horus reticles. They're telling me that their first production run is going to be at the end of February, so those scopes should be heading out to dealers fairly soon, here at the beginning part of the year. And again, we'll be really excited to see how they work in the field. It's a very well-built scope. It feels really good. As I mentioned, Leupold has really been cranking their game up here lately. They have been producing some very high-quality scopes. I really was not a Mark IV fan, now that they've got past that and really started working to add some good features into their scopes. They're producing some very interesting products. So we'll have to keep an eye on them and see where these products are going to go. Again, they're not the cheapest scopes out there, but when you start to play at the top end of the game, you're not going to get something for nothing. So they have to raise the prices to be able to keep the quality up there where it needs to be. While we were at the ATAC TV shoot out in the desert, we got a chance to shoot the Desert Tactical Arms HTI, their hard target interdiction model, in both the 50 caliber and the 375 varieties. Desert Tactical Arms has been making consistent 3,000 plus yard hits with the 375, so it's a very, very interesting system. I got to put some rounds down range with it, and it worked really well. So if you're interested in a hard target interdiction type system or an extreme long range system, make sure you check them out. However, our real purpose was to take a look at the new revisions to the Stealth Recon Scout. Just a little bit before SHOT Show, DTA announced that they were bringing out the A1 version of the Stealth Recon Scout, and they made a couple of changes to it. First of all, they lightened up the fore-end tube a little bit. They changed the way they do the lightning cuts in it. Then also they put a little bit more of a cushion butt pad on it. So if you're out there shooting 338 for extended shooting sessions, it's going to be a little bit easier on your shoulder. The butt pad spacer system is now toolless. You just simply click a release lever and you can slide them and stack them however you need them. And it's very quick to take them off, take them on, and set them up. They also put on an adjustable cheek piece, and this is probably one of the biggest advantages to the new A1 model, is you can loosen up 2 screws and you can raise or lower the cheek piece and set it wherever you need to, instead of trying to put any kind of nylon cheek pad or anything like that on there. So it makes it a whole lot quicker and a whole lot more secure to set up for whoever happens to be on the rifle. We were also advised that there may be a lefty in the works. So those of you guys who have really been on the fence about buying a DTA because they are set up for right-handed shooters, keep your eyes on the horizon. We don't know when it may show up, but it was whispers of a left-handed version. So hopefully that will come out sometime soon. We haven't got any promises or any information further than just whispers that it may be on the horizon. For a DTA Stealth Recon Scout, just the basic A1 package, you're looking at about $4,500. That's including 1 caliber conversion, so the caliber of your choice in the chassis system comes right around $4,500. Now, additional caliber conversions are $1,500, and that of course includes a barrel, a bolt, and a magazine for whichever caliber you want to convert to. So for instance, if you wanted a 308 DTA SRS A1, then that would cost you $4,500, and if you wanted to add the ability to convert to a 338 Leupold Magnum, then that would cost you another $1,500. So really, you're adding a little bit extra cost on there, but the big advantage is you get to stay with the same scope, same stock, same ergonomics, same trigger feel and everything. You just swap between calibers however you want. Hopefully, again, we'll be able to test a little bit on the DTA SRS A1 later this year, because I'm really curious to see how well they return to zero. We've been told they return to zero very, very well, that it's really a simple matter of noting what the deviation is for your scope, and then you can swap calibers and dial the deviation on and drive on. So that is something I'm really interested to see, because especially when you're changing from, for instance, a 308 or a 243 up to shooting 338, you really don't want to have to spend a whole lot of ammo to re-zero that system. 338 tends to be a little bit expensive to shoot, so any ammo that you can save in the conversion is good to go. So we'll definitely test that when we get our hands on the system. Overall, the Stealth Recon Scout A1 feels like a very well-built system. It's very well laid out. You can get a long barrel system tucked into that bullpup package and retain the ballistics of the long barrel with a whole lot better handling. So they're a really interesting system laid out. DTA also showed us there are new scope mounts, so you don't have to anymore worry about how you're going to go about mounting your scope on your DTA. It's really a one-stop shop. They're also pairing up with Collis to provide some DTA branded scopes, which are very nice setups. And again, we hope to get a little bit more detail on that. But in working with the HTI, the Collis scope worked just fine. It's very clear, very nice optics on that scope. So hopefully we'll get some more information later in the year on those. No SHOT Show visits complete without a visit to the Accuracy International booth. Those of you that watch the show for any amount of time know that I'm a fan of AI rifles. They work very, very well. So we cruised over there to take a look at what AI had to offer. They had on display two versions of their PSR rifle. They had the standard PSR deployment kit, and then they also had a PSR covert kit. And we were real interested in the covert kit because basically what it was is it allows you to quickly break down the PSR into what amounts to a carry-on size Pelican case. So you take a full-size .338 rifle and you can break it down and store it in a case that is about the size of what I would carry my camera and video equipment in if I was traveling long range. So it worked very well. We practiced setting the rifle up and breaking it down, and the takedown process on the rifle is really quick and really smooth. We only have one hang-up when we were doing it, and that is the current barrel prints. The ring just ahead of the threaded portion of the barrel is a little bit too thick to pass through the end of the handguard rail, so you have to take the handguard tube off first before you can pull the barrel on the current model that they had at the booth. They said going forward they will change the barrel print so that you will be able to remove the barrel on the quick change system without actually removing the handguard. So if you need to switch from .338 down to .308 or 300 Win Mag, then you can do so without pulling the handguard tube off if you already have the rifle set up. That's a very nice thing. If you have the rifle set up or you have it in the deployment kit and you don't actually need to take the handguard off, or if you have other devices set up on the handguard already that you don't want to have to monkey with. So that was really nice. Again, that kit was built on the Magnum PSR. So if you did have other barrel systems for a short action AX or AW, those will not work with the full-size Magnum PSR. Now AI did have on display a short action PSR, which is just all the features in the full-size Magnum PSR, just in the short action AX receiver type. It's a very nice setup, and it still retains the quick change barrel capability. So if you're a match shooter and you have a .308 and a .243 or a 6.5 barrel, you can switch between the two very quickly. Accuracy International advertises that the system will return to zero. So when you remove and replace the barrel, it should go right back to where it was. And again, it's something that we'll have to test when we get out into the field, but the system is very simple. The barrel just simply screws back in, and there's a cross bolt that pinches down on the threads that holds everything together. So you just screw the barrel in hand tight and then tighten an Allen screw, and it locks everything down. It was very quick, very easy to manipulate. Now, also on the PSR, Accuracy International has a right folding stock, so that stock flips over and encapsulates the bolt handle. This is something I really like, because the problem that we run into on the AI systems is with that left folding stock. When you fold the stock to the left, you've now made the system really wide. The right folding stock covering that bolt handle actually takes about a third of the thickness out of the system when the stock's folded. All the adjustments, the cheek piece length of pull, the butt pad angle and everything is now toolless, so it's just simply a matter of tightening or loosening knobs. Now to remove the barrel does still require a tool. It just requires an Allen key, and they were smart enough to make it so that the Allen key stores on the rifle. It just slips in and locks in underneath the cheek piece and stores on the rifle. Of course, if I was taking it to the field, I would make sure that I have an additional Allen key or two squirreled away in my gear somewhere, because one on the rifle is definitely likely to get lost at some point in time. But other than that, it's a very simple system, very compact. All the screws in the system are encapsulated, so you're not going to worry about backing a screw off and dropping it. The tube system on the AX PSR, of course, is the same as the tube system on the AX. It uses a key mod system, so you can place rails wherever you want them and leave them off wherever you don't. We just finished an extended review on the AX 308, and we'll have that up shortly, so make sure you check that out. Very nice system. A couple of other things that AI had on display was a left-handed AX chassis. So those of you guys that run left-handed Remington 700s, they had a chassis system that will accept those. Also, they had a AICS for the Savage Model 10. So again, those of you guys that run Savage systems, now you have an option for a chassis system for the later model Savage 10s. I'm not a big Savage guy, so I can't tell you what the year cutoff was for those, but the AICS is designed for the current model Savage. So if you have one of the older Savages that has a different receiver pattern or different bolt pattern, it won't work with the new AICS. But for the current generation Savages, if you go purchase one right now, the AICS will work with that. So those are some exciting things. Of course, they also had the pistol grip skins on display for the AICS, and we actually have a set here that we'll be doing a review on very soon. So we have that coming up. While we were there at SHOT, we got an announcement that Kestrel was bringing out a new version of their top-end weather meter. Those of you that have used Kestrel meters for a while know that Kestrel has a Horus ATRAG version that utilizes the Horus ballistic algorithms. And Kestrel teamed up with Applied Ballistics now with Brian Litz to bring over his algorithms and his G7 bullet category or G7 ballistic coefficient catalog, and put those into a meter so that just like the Horus system, you're able to input your rifle specifics, your caliber specifics for your cartridge that you're shooting, and then it will pull the environmental data from its sensors and calculate your input. It's going to be a really interesting system because now you have access to the Litz G7 figures, which tend to be a little bit more accurate than just the standard G1 ballistic coefficients. That should be coming about spring of 2013 when they release the new meter. And the pricing on those are going to be $689 for the Bluetooth model and $589 for the non-Bluetooth model. Now, the advantages that the Bluetooth model give you is you can use the Bluetooth to attach to a computer and set up all your variables on the computer, so it's a little bit quicker to set things up than punching buttons on the Kestrel. Also, there may be applications going forward from third-party developers that will allow you to communicate with the Kestrel through other devices. There are already some Android apps out there that will communicate directly with the Kestrel, so it may be worth your while to pay the extra money for the Bluetooth model. We are working with Kestrel to get more information as we go forward and as we get closer to a production release. So we'll supply you with whatever information we can as we move towards spring and get that production model out. Right before we left for SHOT, I got a little email demonstrating a new folding stock adapter for the AR series rifles made by Law Tactical. This is simply an aluminum adapter that screws in at the base of your receiver ahead of your stock system, and it gives you a push button folding stock capability on the AR. Now, this is something that is not very common because, of course, the AR requires that you utilize a buffer spring and tube on the standard direct impingement rifles, and that whole section there behind the receiver is required for the actual operation of the rifle. So generally, you only see folding stocked ARs on certain types of piston-operated rifles. Well, Law Tactical decided you should be able to have a folding stock on your standard AR, and so they kind of went to work on it and came up with a real novel design. When you fold the stock to the side, there's a mechanism inside that retains the bolt carrier group, and it also retains the buffer and spring assembly. so you can fold it for compact storage. Now, of course, because the standard direct impingement ARs rely on that buffer and spring to operate, you cannot fire the rifle with the stock folded. Actually, let me back up. It's not intended to be fired with the stock folded over. There is no mechanism that prevents you from firing the rifle, so should you decide to do so, you can flick the selector to fire and pull the trigger and fire a round downrange. Now, of course, this was a concern when I originally saw this adapter. So in talking to Law Tactical, they've already done some testing and they have fired the rifle in the folded position, and they've built a failure mechanism into the adapter so that in the event it's fired with it open, it will retain your bolt carrier group. Nothing's going to come flying out of the rifle. However, it will cause damage to the adapter. They built a failure point in because they wanted the adapter to be damaged instead of the serialized part, instead of your receiver being damaged. They figured that this was the best failure mode because it's rather easy to junk the adapter, buy a new adapter and put a new adapter on, than it is to have to report to your agency why a serialized part was damaged, or for you to have to go through a gunsmith to purchase another lower receiver. So they were really thinking on how to set this adapter up so that if the wrong thing occurs, that you're still going to come out of it on the good end. Now, it's going to cost you some money because these adapters are $199 a piece, but it gives you functionality that you could not have had previously with an AR-15. And this adapter also works on the larger AR, so you can put it on a 308 AR, which is what we're intending to do here a little bit going forward. Now, a lot of guys will look at this and they'll say, well, $200 for a folding stock adapter that I can't even fire, well, I'll just go ahead and SBR my rifle. Well, that's great, but there are situations where you're not able to do this. Let's say it's an agency-owned rifle. Well, if it's an agency-owned rifle, they're not going to allow you to register it and do all this nonsense. So this may be something that you can get through your command, and they can say, okay, well, you can put the adapter on it, so now you can fold this thing down, fit in a smaller case. It'll fit in more areas, in gear bags, in your car, whatever you need it for. So it's really kind of well thought out, and it's a niche deal. Law Tactical is not bashful in telling you that if you have a mission where you need to be able to fire the rifle from the folded position, well, you need to purchase a different system. That's not what this is for. This is for compact storage. And I think it does that very well. In playing with the model that they had out there, it worked well. It's designed to snap out without messing with any buttons or clicking anything, and it locks out fairly solidly. We were playing with it on some adjustable stock models, so it's difficult to tell when we just, with our quick handling, if we were feeling wiggle from the adjustable stock or if we were feeling wiggle from the actual adapter itself. But holding it in my hand and playing with just the adapter, I really didn't feel any play in the adapter at all. So we'll have to see when we get one in and we're able to put it on a fixed stock rifle and see really what kind of solid lockup we get with it. But again, it was a very exciting part that we got to play with. Now, cruising right along, we went over to Manners Composite Stocks because we had heard a rumor that they had a brand new lightweight system. When we talked to them, they have a new stock selection called the Elite Hunters series. Now, they have several different shapes and shells, but they all have a 100% carbon shell, and as you can imagine, this lightens the system up considerably over a standard fiberglass shell. For the MCS EH1 model, the overall weight was 26.27 ounces for the one that they had on display, and really this felt like a featherweight stock to me. Now, that's obviously without any chassis system or bedding pillars or anything. That's just the shell inletted for a Remington 700 ready to roll. Now, the price point on that stock itself was $569, so it's not cheap, but of course it's Manners quality as well. So you really are getting a lot for your money. I was very impressed at how lightweight that system was. They had a couple of rifles set aside. One was a full-on titanium build that was extremely lightweight. If I was going to pack a hunting rifle around up in the mountains, that would definitely be high on my list. The other one was a standard varmint barrel Remington 700, and that still felt like an extremely lightweight system in this stock. Now, one of the other interesting pieces that they had on hand was their new chassis, or their new mini chassis. Now, those of you that have been fans of Manor stocks for a while know that they introduced a while back a mini chassis that accepted a magazine system. You could select this chassis on any of their stock builds, and they would go ahead and inlet it and build the chassis into the system. So when it arrived at your doorstep, all you had to do was bolt your action into the stock, and you had a magazine system ready to roll. Well, Manners took this same idea and they oriented it towards their lighter weight hunting rifle offerings, and now they offer a BDL chassis. And what this simply is, much like the mini chassis, you can order it. It'll add $145 to your stock order, and they will build that into your stock. So when it arrives at your door, all you need to do is bolt your action in, bolt your magazine spring and floor plate onto the bottom, and you're ready to roll. There's no bedding required, no pillars to mess with. You just bolt in and go. So it's a very nice addition. They also tried to keep the weight very light, so the BDL chassis will only add about 6.5 ounces to your stock selection. So if you want a nice lightweight hunting stock or a lightweight tactical rifle, the new Elite Hunter Series may be the way to go for you. So give Manners a call and ask them what they've got for you. From the Manners stock booth, it was just a quick left-hand turn and we were facing the Badger Ordnance booth. And Badger had on display their new action. For a while, guys have been using the Badger M2008 action, and there have been some complaints on various aspects of that action. Well, Badger was listening and they resolved them, and their new action is the M2013 for obvious reasons. And they really went over the action and fine-tuned it considerably. The first thing you notice is it's about 7 ounces lighter than their previous version. They rounded and contoured and relieved weight wherever they could. The next thing I noticed when I picked up the action and handled it is they greatly improved the bolt lift on it. On the old 2008 action, pretty much everyone that I felt had an extremely heavy bolt lift when you compared it to some of the other rifles on the market. With the 2013, when you drop that striker and then you go to run the bolt, you can run it very quickly, just blading your hand. It feels very nice. So they resolved that. The action fits in the same inlet as the 2008, so if you already have a 2008 rifle and you want to upgrade that action to the 2013, then you don't need to have your chassis system re-inletted or your stock re-inletted. It'll drop right into it. They range in price from $11.80 for the short action all the way up to $13.85 for the Leupold Magnum version. Very nice system. I just really couldn't stop handling it and rolling it around. It really, for those of you guys that want to build your own rifle and you want to have that nice short bolt lift and the 6-lug action, then this is a way to go. So the Badger Ordnance M2013 is a really nice system. While we were in the Badger Ordnance booth, we took a look at the Mack Brothers suppressors. They had a couple of different cans on display there. The first one that caught our eye was a MB762L. This is their 30 caliber can, and it is Magnum rated, so you can run it on a 308 or a 300 Win Mag, whichever you deem fit. They are titanium bodies, and they're about 19 ounces. They have a quick release design, which was kind of interesting. Much like the Surefire suppressors, there is a collar at the back of the suppressor that you grab and turn. Unlike the Surefire suppressors, there's no button, nothing to release. You just grab the collar, turn it, and then you spin the can off. Now, the Mack Brothers suppressor uses a very heavy coarse thread to put the can on, and then the collar locks it on. So it's a little bit different than some of the other can offerings on the market, but it really worked very well. Once we tried it a couple times, I was able to spin the can on or spin it off very quickly. So it felt very good. The 7.62 can was about 19 ounces. and they, as I mentioned, they are Magnum rated, and they run about $985, and that includes one muzzle device. Extra muzzle devices are $75 a piece. Mack Brothers is working on getting their information going and getting their website up. As soon as they do, we'll shoot that out on our Facebook page and out on our Twitter feed and get you guys some information on them. They also offer a 5.56 version of their can. That one comes in at about 12.5 ounces. Again, it's a titanium body, and this one is full auto rated. That will run about $965 with one break. So keep an eye out for them. We'll let you know when we get some more information on their suppressors. Overall, the fit and finish of it was very nice. Looks like a very good to go can. They do have a 22 long rifle model available, although they didn't have it on display there at the booth. While we were out at Media Day, we got a chance to fire Ashbury Precision Ordnance's new 375 Shaytac Super Sport. This is a really interesting rifle system, and it is a very soft shooting 375. Usually 375's got a little bit of a bite to it, but they put a lot of work into the brake that went on this rifle. The chassis system also helps absorb quite a bit of the recoil. So it was really nice to shoot. Really didn't have any problems getting hits on targets. Where they were set up, we really couldn't stretch its legs and get out to any extended long range. But overall, the system shot well, cycled quickly, and it was really a neat rifle to shoot. Now, the Super Sport package is trying to come in at a lower price point than a lot of the extended long-range rifles are. They're really targeting the entry-level market and trying to get you out and get you shooting. Now, the advantage of the Super Sport packages are the stock is fully modular, so you can come in a Super Sport package and you can upgrade up to any of the additional pieces that you want to add onto that stock. That's one of the things that Ashbury is really well known for, is their modular systems. They allow you to pick almost a la carte and set your system up the way you need to set it up. Now, back in the booth, we got to take a look at their short action Super Sport series. Their Super Sport chassis for the Remington 700 short action was really exciting for me because the low price point, this system starts at $995. And for that, you get a fixed stock. It's adjustable cheek, but there's no folding system or anything of that nature. You get a standard composite forend that really is shaped more like a hunter stock, and then you get their standard AR pistol grip type setup. So you can start out at the $995 price point, and you can equip a Remington 700 with a magazine system and a little bit closer to AR type ergonomics. As you go along, if you wish, you can upgrade to one of the railed forends. You can upgrade to an adjustable stock, monopod, folding system. Anything you want to do, the stock is fully upgradable. So you start at a lower price point and then you can build up as you go. So that was an exciting system because, for instance, on the professional side of it, it gives a department the ability to outfit their rifles with a lower cost system, but as they grow or as their needs change, they can upgrade the system as they go. We're going to try to do something a little bit later on, maybe in a couple of months, to show you exactly how upgradable these systems are. So hopefully we'll pull that off and give you guys something to look at on that. But anything that we've touched that Ashbury's made has been extremely, extremely high quality. I've been really impressed with the stuff they've had going. They also had the beautiful pink chassis in their display that really drew your eye. They're really doing the best they can to try to get more people into the shooting sports. We very often see these black, menacing looking tactical rifles, which a lot of us like. I really tend to like a subdued look for a tactical rifle. But when we're shooting tactical competitions or extreme long range competitions, it's a competition, it's a game. We don't need to go super tactical, we don't need to go super stealth, And sometimes it's nice to throw a little bit of personality or a little bit of flair into those weapon systems. So you can take a rifle, you can gussy it up, they can paint them any color you want, they can Cerakote them. These bright, audacious colors. In fact, they already have my wife talking about wanting an orange chassis system on her rifle system since she really likes the color orange. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull people in that see these bright colors and these fancy systems and say, hey, you know, I really want to personalize my rifle. So that was really neat to look at. So they're doing their best to try to pull other people into our sport. And if our sport doesn't grow, it dies. So that's a very important thing, and my hat's off to Ashbury for that. Some of you guys asked us to drop into Seekins Precision booth. I guess there was a rumor running around that Seekins was going to release a 308 AR. Well, that rumor proved to be untrue. There was no 308 AR in Seekins booth. What they did show us is their new forged AR-15 lower receiver. It's a very nice piece. It was very well done. All the edges were rounded. The roll mark was really nice and well done. One of the things that I really liked on it is they did a good job of flaring the mag well, so you shouldn't have any problems quickly changing magazines in the system. But overall, it was a standard forged AR-15 lower receiver, and it was very well done. They're targeting $129 price point for the retail price on it, so it's not something that they're trying to gouge you. So if you want to build a rifle on a Seekins receiver, but you can't quite afford the billet receiver, this may be a really good way to go. Like all Seekins Precision products, the finish is just absolutely top-notch on it. They had a few other new products in their booth, but one that really stood out is they will be changing their tri-rail system, their tri-rail handguard, to a key mod type system. So those of you guys that want to be able to stick key mod rails on where you want them and leave them off where you don't, this may be a good idea for you. So that is coming soon. They also debuted some of their, or showed some of their brakes and one of their new enhanced bolt release latches. So overall, again, Seekins Precision is just keeping their quality at top notch, and they're running as fast as they can to get products out to you guys. In fact, every manufacturer that we talk to at the show is running at full capacity 24/7 as much as they can to get products out. This industry is really thriving, and if our political environment doesn't kill it off, then I think we're going to see some massive growth over the next year. As we were wandering around, we cruised through the Mystery Ranch booth, and they had on display their nice Overload 3-zip pack. Now, I've been working with an Eberlestock X3 for a little while now, so the ability to carry a rifle in my pack really caught my eye. We took a few minutes and talked to Mystery Ranch about the different features on the pack. And one of the things that's really interesting is the way the pack attaches to the frame. If you're not actually carrying a weapon, you can cinch everything down and the whole weapons carriage system just goes away basically. With everything cinched down, it works just like a regular pack. You can carry some pretty heavy loads in it and not worry about it flopping around or shifting on you when there's not a weapon contained in it. If you need to carry a weapon, then it's very easy to split the pack, load the weapon up, and snap it in. Now, the Mystery Ranch pack is not designed so that you can quickly yank your weapon out while you're wearing the pack. That's just not what it's intended to do. It is intended to be able to carry very heavy systems, though. Originally, the Overload was designed to be able to carry crew-served weapons. And in fact, the pack that they had on display, they had a replica of an M240 Golf strapped into it. So it was kind of nice to see how that system fit in there. Very well designed, very, very overbuilt. The hardware that they use is just top notch. They use an interesting cinch down side release buckle system, so you don't have to worry about your side release buckles slipping and loosening up. All the materials in the pack are very compliant. It is designed as the Overload 3-zip that we looked at is a 3,000 cubic inch pack, so you can stuff a lot of stuff in there, more than what you would need for a match or a 1 or 2 day match. It's made of 5,000 denier Cordura, so it's pretty good material. although it's not going overboard into the 1,000 denier and really adding weight to it. The 500 denier should be strong enough for most of the stuff you're going to put the system through. The price point on the pack, depending upon what options you select, is anywhere from $635 to $759. Now, they took quite a bit of time to go through the different features and how the pack is set up, and this pack is really designed to be able to fit to your body very well. The pack's based on a nice frame, and the Mystery Ranch packs are really nice in that they are a modular design, so you can remove the Overload 3-zip and you can attach a different Mystery Ranch pack to that frame, or if you want to go old school, you can actually drop an Alice pack onto the nice frame. I've got several Mountain Rucks and several old Alice packs here, so any one of those packs you can attach onto the Mystery Ranch nice frame and roll out and have a much better fitting system than the old school Alice frame. We also took time to stop by Kinetic Research Group's booth and take a look at what's new with the Whiskey 3 chassis system. KRG had quite a few different accessories for the Whiskey 3 on hand. One of the most notable is the grippy cheek piece. They worked with Victor Company to develop the grippy cheek piece for the Whiskey 3 stock system. So those of you that either have a Whiskey 3 stock or a Whiskey 3 rear folding section on your TRG rifle, you can now get a wider grippy cheek piece for it. It works very well. Really interesting product. We have the grippy cheek piece on our AI, and if you really want to be able to anchor your cheek onto that stock, the grippy cheek piece works very well. Some guys have complained that the Whiskey 3 cheek piece is a little bit too thin, so this solves that problem, and you're able to order it as an upgrade whenever you order a Whiskey 3. They also showed some new night vision mounts. One is a side-mounted angle mount that allows you to put a clip-on forward of your day optic. They also showed a spigot mount that will mount in the forend of your Whiskey 3 or TRG chassis and will allow you to utilize the Badger Imans mount for your night vision. So they'll manufacture spacers that set the top of the Imans at the appropriate height, and then your clip-on device goes right over your barrel, just like you would with an Imans on an AI chassis system. So that was very nice to see. They also had on display several of the different grip sizes that are available on the Whiskey 3, and showed us some new things that will be coming out hopefully in the future. They're really working to improve the system going forward, and it really shows that they put a whole lot of time and effort and thought into how the system's laid out. So we'll continue to cover future Whiskey 3 happenings and let you guys know what's going on there. Finally, as we were wandering around, looking high and low all over the SHOT Show, we found Waldo, and here he is. So now you see you truly can find just about anything at the SHOT Show. Well, that's about it for our SHOT Show coverage. I know there's some stuff that we forgot. I know there's some stuff that we neglected to cover, and it always happens. We always get to the end of the SHOT Show, and as I'm leaving, I think, oh, we forgot this. We forgot to see this person. To those of you that we met at the show, thank you. It was very, very nice to meet you in person, shake your hand, put a face to a screen name. For those of you that came up and recognized Sarah and thanked her for her contribution, thank you very much. It really made her day. It also, made my day to see that you guys really do enjoy the show. As you know, or if you were following our Twitter feed, you saw that we actually kind of had an attack of craziness, and we decided that we were going to drive to SHOT Show this year. So we started here in southern Indiana. We rented a 2012 Dodge Charger and then drove for 2 days from Indiana to Vegas. We kind of made that a really quick trip. I wish we could have stopped off and seen some of you guys that offered lodging or offered to meet up for a meal, but we were kind of pushing it to get out and pushing it to get back. On our way back, we stopped for a couple of little sightseeing jaunts. I say little because they were really just an hour or two. We did get a chance to stop by and see the Grand Canyon. If you ever have the chance to get by and see the Grand Canyon, see it. There are very few things that will put your life into perspective. Looking out over that canyon definitely shows you how small you really are. So it's a very interesting place to go. We also stopped at Meteor Crater and saw one of the biggest impact craters in the world, and that thing is huge. Also a really nice place to stop for an hour or two if you happen to be in that neck of the woods. The rest of our trip was just pretty much a blur, trying to cover as many miles as we legally could in as small amount of time as we could. But now we're home, we're unpacked, and now it's time to get caught up on all the work that we have here. So we'll be back to cranking out videos for you as quickly as we possibly can. As always, if you've liked the show, please go ahead and give us that thumbs up. If you've got questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. You guys keep helping those numbers climb, and manufacturers like to see that when they're trying to figure out if they want to send stuff to us to review. So, if you're not a subscriber, it's very important. Please click that subscription button. We won't send you a junk mail, but YouTube will let you know when we release new videos. So, subscribe. And until next time, get out and shoot! Well, we're on our way back from SHOT Show, so we figured why not stop the biggest hole in the West. So we're out here at the Grand Canyon. This thing is huge if you've never been out here before. Take a look over the edge here.
Oh, you're funny. Here.
Okay, I'll take the camera.
You're really funny. That's not happening.
Sarah doesn't like edges.
Nope. I'm back here. I'm fine.
Well, that's what you're looking at if you've never actually seen the Grand Canyon before. We're at the Mather Point overlook, and it's
7 degrees.
pretty amazing. And it's 7 degrees out here. See the snow on the ground? Who'd have thought the desert's cold, right? Well, one of us thought the desert was cold.
Yeah. You're lucky there's a high rail.
See you guys later.